Hello everyone, this is Dr. Pete on a Sunday morning. I'm dressed down a little bit with one of my favorite shirts from Naval Station Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. Radio Gitmo, really good people, great people, and they do the radio station down on the base, and it's just there's not a lot of communication down there, and it kind of gives you a little bit of home, and it's just great that AFN does that, and very nice people, and they have this great record collection. But what's more important here right now is that an issue came up and a student talked about academics and quality and all that. So I made a note and I wanted to make sure to address this is when looking at work in college, it's always better to default to academics because that's why we're here. So I do videos about, how do we use experiences and how do we use our thoughts and how do we anchor our beliefs with academics, meaning sources. And that's very, very important. And those videos are all there on the education channel. And as a quick summary, if you're going to make a paragraph, which is paragraphs are roughly 4 to 6 sentences, the Goldilocks effect, not too long, not too short, just right paragraphs. Paragraphs are focused on an idea or a specific thing. And you can have multiple paragraphs on the same thing, but each paragraph should contain that idea and focus on it. And it's nice to cite in those paragraphs to make them academic, to give them support and develop them. Professors like seeing that. Whether they understand it or not, they like seeing it. And most professors, meaning a vast majority, would agree with that. And if they don't, maybe it's specific to their studies, maybe they don't care, maybe they just don't get it. But most professors do. They get it. They get that you're putting the effort into the course. So always remember that. One of the things that always strikes me is that a lot of students will not check feedback until the grade is lower. This concerns me because even if you do a good job, you would hope the professor would say, hey, you did a really good job, but look at some of these things you could do better. Now, if you're happy with whatever grade, it could be a D, C, B, or A, or F. It doesn't matter what you're happy with. Everybody's happy with a different level of grade. But it never hurts to look at the feedback. And if you know somebody does videos like me, and you know I'm heavily involved, then I'm giving you feedback on everything. Unless there's some requirement like a quiz where I obviously can't give you feedback. It just automatically grades and shoots it out. Having said that, take the time to look at the feedback, because that's how you get better. Now, you may agree with it or not. Some professors, do this, and some do that, and some students do this or that. And so that diversity is what really makes academics a stronger thing. And so are there some professors that don't grade things on time? Yes. And they don't care? Yes. And they do a bad job? Yes. There's always that. But there's students who do the same thing. So what I'm suggesting here is take the time to look at the academic feedback. I got multiple calls, and there's a number of new students that say, there's some that are nice and say, hey, Dr. Pete, I don't see the feedback. And I say, oh, well, that's fine. They have a new way of looking at it, or this is how you do it, or make sure you reach with the IT department. You always hear the same things from me. Then there's some students that come back and go, like, I'm a bad person. They didn't like the grade, and then they've never looked at their feedback before, and then they start going through and saying, well, you didn't give me feedback, and you didn't do this, and I need feedback, and you're a bad person, basically. Well, okay. It's always nice to start off with the positive, because once you say something that strong, it's hard to step back from it. Now, I'm pretty easygoing, and I always say, no one's trying to put me in the ground. And so as long as you're not doing that, we can communicate. But there are people who are offended by that, and they're rightfully offended by that. So make sure that when you first look at it and you don't see feedback, try to look at, sometimes email will send out and won't give you the feedback, give you the grade but not the feedback. Well, when you go into the course, sometimes you have to go in the actual assignment itself to see the feedback, or the videos. I do a lot of videos. So it's normally 99% of the time professors give some level of feedback. If you need more, that's cool, but at least read the feedback or watch it before you make a statement. And once you do that, if you still have concerns, then that's when you would want to engage the professor. Now, there are different ways people talk. For example, I talk in terms, and I put videos out there about this, is I will talk in terms of like APA, like things, how to write, spell, grammar, and all that. I also talk about ways to organize your paper and organize it like APA steps, headers, paragraphs, the Goldilocks effect of 4 to 6 sentences, how we cite in paragraphs. These are steps that can help you develop your analysis. And so that's another thing a lot of students overlook, is that I can tell you expand it and add more detail, or I can show you how to do it. Most students, when writing the papers, and I'd say the vast majority of them, pretty much get where they need to be with the topic or the idea. So it's about anchoring and showing your research, your writing, and your analysis. And that's where you'll see me talk a lot about those things, because those are, I believe, three critical skills. Is you need to write better, because that's all I have to grade. And in the future, when you write reports and emails, that's what people judge you on. And then the other part is research. What are you backing up your work with? And then how do you analyze things? So all these things have to come together for those three critical skills, and that's what you should be getting out of all those, every course you take, every assignment you do. Can you skate through? Yes. I call them checklist students. So, and I have a video on that as well. There are some professors who are checklist professors, and that is a real thing. So what you want to get out of your education should be the most, meaning you pay good money, whether you pay a lot or a little or it's free. Like say a company pays for it, someone's paying for you to get your education. So you should make the most of it. Not all of us get the opportunity to do that. Some of us are delayed, some of us get it later, some of us join the military to do it. I mean, everybody's got a different story, but we're all going down the same path, okay? So make the most of your opportunities. Take time. I always call it slow the roll, meaning take the time and really review things before making statements. And then when you do see something and you may not agree, explore it, understand it. That's what's important to that professor. Modify what you got to do and go forward. Because that professor, for some reason, thinks that's important. And maybe that was something that made them a better student, a better professor, whatever. And then if you still have issues, then engage the professor. And if you have even extreme examples, a professor doesn't respond, doesn't care, doesn't feedback, nothing, then you can get administrators in. But when you call administrators in so quick, it just really wastes everyone's time. In other words, you may not agree with the professor, but just to call people in and make complaints, that's not really the right way to go about it. It never helps. It never really solves the problem. It just makes for hard feelings. And you're not, at that point, some people learn the lesson, well, instead of doing work, I just complain. And that doesn't get the most out of your education either. So I've had some really good students call me this week asking honest questions and really wanting to do better. And I really respect that, and I think it's great. So I do appreciate that opportunity, and I appreciate the phone calls. I always say I get about 8 to 10 phone calls a day. Apparently that's a pretty high number, but I do it. I love it, and I do it because this is your experience, and I want you to get the most out of it. But I'm not here to give it to you. I'm not going to give you an A or a B or whatever you think's good. I'm here to, you can earn it, and I can help you, and we can move together, but that's what education is about. If there's anything else, always feel free to drop me a line, and best of luck.